All right, let's just jump right into it. Today, we're going to break down how to multiply square roots. Now, I know this can seem a little tricky, but it's actually super straightforward once you see how it works. So, let's put this up on the screen. The square root of 20 times the square root of 3. How would you even start to solve that? Just take a quick second and think about what your first move would be. This is the exact problem we're going to solve together, step by step. And hold on, I know what you're thinking, but before you grab your calculator, there's a big rule for this explainer. We're doing this the right way, without a calculator. See, the goal isn't just to get some long decimal answer, it's to really get the process behind it all. Okay, so to tackle that big problem, we've got to start with the basics. We need to lock in the fundamental rule that makes all of this possible. And to do that, let's dial it back a notch and look at a much friendlier problem. What about the square root of 3 times the square root of 2? This super simple example is going to show us pretty much everything we need to know. So here's the rule, and it's actually kind of ridiculously simple. When you're multiplying two square roots, you can just merge them together under one big square root symbol. So root 3 times root 2 just becomes the square root of, well, 3 times 2. And that, of course, gives us our answer, the square root of 6. Easy, right? That's it. That's the core idea right there. If you get this part, believe me, you're already halfway home. Now, what we just did, it actually has a fancy name. It's called the product property of square roots. All it says is that for any regular non-negative numbers a and b, the square root of a times the square root of b is the same thing as the square root of a times b. And by the way, this rule works both forwards and backwards, which is a super important detail we'll get back to in a minute. Okay, you've got the main rule. But hold on. Before we jump back to our problem, I gotta show you a really common trap. This is a mistake so many people make, and knowing this will save you a ton of headaches on a test for sure. So the question is, can you just smash any two roots together? Well, take a look here. On the left, you've got the cube root of 5 times the cube root of 2. See those little 3's? That's called the index. Since they're the same, the rule works perfectly. You get the cube root of 10. But look at the right. We have a cube root and a square root. Because those indices are different, you just can't combine them with this rule. It's a no-go. So remember, same type of root, you're good to go. All right, now we're ready. Basic rule, check. That important exception, check. We have the tools we need. Let's get back to our original challenge and actually solve this thing. Okay, here we are, back at the main event, the square root of 20 times the square root of 3. And now we know exactly what to do first. We just used that product property we learned. We take the 20 and the 3 and combine them under one big square root. That gives us the square root of 20 times 3. And multiplying that out, we get our initial answer, the square root of 60. Now, if you thought this was the answer from the get-go, hey, give yourself a pat on the back. You are totally on the right track. But, and this is a big but, we're not quite finished yet. And this is a really, really important point. Getting the square root of 60 is kind of like getting 100 over 200 as your answer to a fraction problem. I mean, yeah, it's technically correct, but it's not simplified, right? Your teacher would expect you to take that extra step and write it as 1/2. So, that's the big question, right? We need to simplify our answer. How do we finish this problem and simplify the square root of 60? And this right here brings us to the final and honestly, the most crucial step in this whole process. This is what separates a pretty good answer from a great, fully correct answer. Okay, so how do we simplify the square roots of 60? Let's break it down. Step 1, we need to hunt for a perfect square that's a factor of 60. You know, numbers like 4, 9, 16. Wait, 4 works. 60 is just 4 times 15. Perfect. Step 2, now we use our property in reverse. We split the square root of 60 back into the square root of 4 times the square root of 15. Step 3, we solve the part we actually can solve. The square root of 4 is just 2. Easy. And finally, step 4, we put it all together. The square root of 4 becomes a 2, leaving us with 2 times the square root of 15. And there you have it. That's our final, polished, fully simplified answer, 2 root 15. That is the complete answer your math teacher is looking for. We multiplied, and then we simplified. So let's just pull back for a second and look at the big picture. We can boil this whole thing down to a super simple, repeatable method you can use every single time. It really is this simple. Step 1, you multiply the numbers that are inside the square roots. Step 2, you always check if you can simplify the result by pulling out a perfect square. That's it. That's the game plan. Multiply, then simplify. So there you go. That's the whole two-step process.
Multiply, then simplify. You've pretty much got this multiplication thing down. But it does make you wonder, right? What happens when you need to divide them? Well, that's a question for another time.